So this first clip, the audio got messed up and it wouldn't let me export the video. So I'm gonna do a voiceover. Basically, I'm talking about how I tried to start this engine a couple weeks ago, but wasn't able to build oil pressure, before actually attempting to start it. So the oil pump on this is mounted externally halfway up on the block, and wasn't able to get it to prime by just cranking it. So I don't know if the engine builder put enough assembly lube in it or what, but I wasn't able to get it primed. So I have this little Sure Shot spray can that you pressure up with an air compressor, and I filled that with oil. I put a hose on it, unscrewed the oil sender and screwed it in there. So I put about a half quart in the oil galleries, and then I pulled it apart, put a gauge on it, cranked it, nothing. Did it again, another half quart, pulled it apart, put a gauge on it, cranked it, got oil pressure. So that issue fixed, was able to move on. Most engines, the oil pump is mounted down in the oil pan with a short pickup tube, so this normally isn't an issue. I did try to fill the oil filter a few times with oil and was hoping that would run up towards the pump, but that didn't work out either. I think probably because the backhoe was pitched a little bit towards the rear of the machine, so it wouldn't actually run up towards the pump. Also in this video, I'll show you a few other issues I had with the injection pump timing. It was a little bit off, so it wouldn't fire up. I thought it was just because it was cold and tried giving it a little shot of ether, but that wasn't the case either. So in this next clip here, I'll show you the cranking oil pressure, and then we'll go into bleeding the fuel system, and eventually you'll see it running. So first I'll show you the oil pressure while cranking here. This is just a electric gauge I temporarily hooked up. This only had an idiot light before. There we go. Took a while. Alright, so we got oil pressure. Now we'll go over and I'll show you guys how I'm going to prime this. Actually, we got fuel shooting out of there already. I unhooked all the injector lines from the pump. I'm going to start here. These are the bleeders for the fuel filters. See, what this has is an electric pump on it. This is the supply line. I rigged up a temporary inline filter. I'm going to get a different one for this eventually. So it comes through the electric pump, comes into this side of the filter housing. I did fill these filters up before I put them on. We'll break these, make sure there's no air in either one of these, and then it goes from here down into the injection pump. There's a shut-off solenoid on the pump, which will that's how you kill your engine. When it's energized, it opens it up. When you turn the key off, it de-energizes, cuts off your fuel flow. That's how you kill an engine. So, and then as we're cranking, that's pumping fuel up to the injectors, and that one's even got fuel coming out of it already. That's good. So we'll make sure we got good fuel flow out of all these injectors. I'll hook them back up, and hopefully it'll fire right up. So I'll set you up on the stand here, and we'll go through that. There we go, we got fuel coming out of there. A little bit of air. It's a good thing about electric pumps. If you had a manual block-mounted pump, you'd end up cranking and cranking and cranking to get fuel. This, you just key it on, it pumps, primes your filters. Now the only way to get fuel up to your injectors is to crank the engine, because you need that pump to turn. Alright, looks like we got cylinder 3 and 4 are shooting out pretty good. I think I got them all. That was pretty quick. So I'm going to put those lines back on. Tighten the nuts up, and hopefully it runs. Alright, so here we go for our first start. See what it does. It needs a little shot of ether. Alright, we'll give this another shot so we can get this thing fired up today. Alright, so I'm going to try it again. I think I had a pump timing issue. It was off from what I can tell, the manual's not the best. I just know that the scribe mark in the side of the injection pump wasn't lining up, so I think I got it adjusted. So give it a shot. So that's all I had to do was adjust the pump timing and it fired right up. Basically I did that by removing this 4-bolt cover right there, that rectangle, and the pump drive hub has some slots in it. There's 3 bolts, and I had to loosen them, and what I ended up doing was turn the engine back a little bit with the fan. I tightened down one of those bolts, I roll it forward again to where the pointer on the crank, that crank pointer on the crank is lined up with the timing mark, and then I check down here in that lower cover, not this one here but the one below it, that has the timing marks inside the injection pump. There's a pointer and a scribed line, got them lined up, and then you guys saw it kick over. I played around seeing if the Extend-A-Hoe would work, and I ended up popping this line here. So I'll get one of those made. Somebody said to me they thought this Extend-A-Hoe was an add-on. Don't see too many of them like it. I guess it could be possible. Wear strips. So I'm glad I got it running. I can move it around now. Easier to move it up towards the house to do any work on it. I got this plate to work on. There's the control valve for the Extend-A-Hoe. bolted to the plate that the seat sits on. I already freed up the controls for that. That's got a foot pedal that rocks